If I had to name one thing that I teach when it comes to video that is probably the most important thing, it's the library of content. It has the lamest name, it's completely not sexy, and yet it's probably the most important thing you could have to use video as a branding and marketing tool the way that I prescribe. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to lay out what a library of content is, why you need one, and how to make one. And for the rest of this mini course series, we're going to dive into those pieces more deeply. Now, before I explain what a library of content is or why this is the most important thing that I teach, it's important to understand my strategy with video and my vision for video itself. It's because I see video as a long game. I see it as a branding tool. I don't see it as something where you make one video and hope it goes viral and millions of people will buy your thing. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible to do that, but it's really difficult, and you can burn out or go broke long before that will ever happen, and chances are it's not going to happen because those are like the 1 in a million type things. I would prefer to see entrepreneurs working from their passions, creating content that is valuable for their audience, and building an audience around you that loves what you're about, loves what you teach them, wants more and more value, and the people who are willing to pay for that value will then step up and present themselves as potential clients and customers and say, hey, I would like more. What more do you have for me? And that's where the library of content comes in. So what is a library of content? Now, I have a couple of libraries of content. The one is the one you may know the most is my daily fuels, the stuff that I do in my free group all the time. That is literally a library of ongoing content that rallies my audience around me. And then people, including you, have stepped up and said, yeah, I like this. I would like more. I want to work with you. I want to have more one-on-one access to you, or I want your course where you're taking that content and you're putting it in a structured format for me. That's what I want. The other library of content that I have, and the one that I want to really present to you today, is my Fuel Blue TV series. Now, that's a series of produced content that I create. I use it to get clients for my agency. And in this mini course, I'm going to lay out exactly how I do that. What is a library of content? It's basically a series of videos of whatever format you want. It could be a vlog, it could be produced content, it can also be non-video stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be video, but this is a video course, but it could be a podcast, it could be a blog. It is a library of content that you refer people to learn more about you. It is a branding tool. It is just this amalgam of stuff that you present to people, and they get to look at it and watch it or read it, and they say, oh, this is what this person's about. And then they get to make the decision that, yeah, I am into this person, or I am into what this one is teaching, or I want to know more of this. Or they're going to say, I get it, or whatever, but it's just not my cup of tea. That's what it is. And what does it look like? It's basically, for me, it's a series of videos on my website. It doesn't have to be anything sexy. It doesn't have to be anything amazing. It's just there. And I can refer people to it before I have a meeting with them. Now I want to get to the why. Why a library of content? Well, I sort of stumbled upon this by accident when I realized that when I had a meeting set up with people, I could send them to the library of content first and say, hey, before we meet on Friday, why don't you go look at some of these videos? Let me put this in perspective for you. I might get referred to someone by a client, or somebody may see something that I did for another client and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about doing something similar for me. I might set up a meeting to go and see them, or I might set up a phone call to do like a discovery type call and find out if we're a fit or a match to work together. A lot of times in the past, I would go on those calls only to find out after driving an hour there, sitting there for an hour, talking to this one, talking to that one, and then still having to drive all the way home regardless of what happens. I would waste all of that time just to find out we were not a fit. If there were some magic way that I could find out we're not a fit before I wasted my time, I would like to have that. I would like to know that, oh wait, I don't have to go through all this stuff. I can just use this to figure that out. Or really, more to the point, I can just use my library of content to let them figure it out so that they don't waste my time. Let's take this scenario where I have a meeting coming up with somebody. Someone was referred to me by another client, or they found me through however means, and they would like to, hey, we saw what you did for so-and-so. We'd like you to do that for us. Can you come in for a meeting on Friday? And maybe I'll have a phone call with them and I'll find out some things that they're interested in and what they'd really like to see from me. Instead of just showing up cold on Friday, I might say to them, I made a video about that. Why don't you look at this video, and I'll email you the link. Here it is. While you're watching that video, you can also check out some other videos I did in my Fuel Blue TV series. You can figure out for yourself if you think we're a fit. And if you do, then on Friday you can tell me or not, So here's what that Friday meeting would look like if I didn't have a library of content. If they just said, come in on Friday, and I went in cold, we knew nothing about each other, and I would show up and they'd be like, hello, thanks for showing up. It's Friday, our scheduled meeting. Appreciate that. You're on time, so that's good. Have a seat. And, we've been talking to about 3 or 4 people in your industry who do what you do. And why don't you tell us why we should hire you instead of them? And now suddenly what happens is the pressure is on. I have to be like a salesman, and I have to tell them, oh, well, I'm this and I'm that and I can do this and they can't and they stink at this, but I'm great at it, or whatever, and it just becomes this uncomfortable thing because really, I don't know, why are you going to hire me instead of them? It's probably going to be because I'm cheaper. You're probably just angling to find out, hey, probably you guys can all do the same job for us. Can you do it for less? Is what really they want to know. Now, let's pretend that I do have a library of content, which I do, and I did tell them to watch it, which I would, and they did, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. You can't force people to watch videos, but at least if they're there, you have a really good shot that they will. So now I go into this meeting on Friday, and they watched my video. Now I sit down and they say, hey, Bobby, thanks for showing up. It's Friday, our scheduled meeting. By the way, thanks for sending those videos over. I did watch your library of content, and I have to tell you, you're awesome. We really got a feeling for you, and I think you're the guy that I want to work with. How do we make that happen? Do you have time for us? What's the next step here? Obviously, you could do this, and obviously you could do that. I really got a good sense for who you are. I'd like to find out, how can we work together? So I don't know about you, but I would prefer a meeting where when I walk in the door, they already know, oh man, we love you. Then why don't you tell us why we should hire you? It's a completely different meeting. It's a completely different feeling. It doesn't mean I'm going to get the job one way or the other, or I'm not going to get the job one way or the other, but it just gives me an advantage. There's really no reason to not give yourself that advantage when all you need to do to have that advantage is make some simple videos and put them on a web page, and then refer your prospects to them and say, hey, watch this before we meet. That's what the library of content is. And in the rest of this mini course, I'd like to just teach you how to make one and how to use one. So just to give you a little advanced warning about what's involved in making one, it's really very simple. It involves making a new video about once a week, or batch producing videos ahead of time, but putting them up online once a week. And then when you get a prospect, when somebody comes to your website, when anything happens, you're trying to drive traffic to your library of content and say, hey, watch this. Understand who I am by watching this video, and then watch this video, and then watch this video. And when you get an idea of who I am and you have made the decision in your mind, I would like to work with this person, give me a call. That's the library of content. That's what I teach. That's what we're going to learn how to do in this mini course.